3 to 6 program it's not a school, but it's a bridging program for refugee students who have come to South Africa, mostly from central and northern parts of Africa.
I remember getting the application the year before, didn't do it, and all the boys had such a great time and had such great stories, and I kind of regretted not taking a risk and trying something, to step out of my comfort zone. So I thought this time I'll definitely have to do it.
The 3 to 6 program throughout the year runs from 3 till 6 in the afternoon, mainly teaching literacy and numeracy to these kids who can't get a normal education. They now run 2 holiday programs a year, and that's a chance for them to experience the other curriculum areas mostly. So they get to do some science and art and music and sport and all the fun stuff, really.
I knew I really wanted to do it, but I wasn't 100% sure why. And I didn't know how I'd kind of get that across. Obviously the process is to write a letter and go for an interview. I guess I was a bit stressed about that.
I wanted to test myself and see if I could push myself into a new scenario that I wasn't particularly comfortable with and really reconnect with Marcelin.
I remember getting the phone call from Adriano, and I was just stoked. I was super excited. Called mum and dad right away, and I guess was counting down the days from there.
When we got there, we were sort of assigned some sort of role, but it was definitely very fluid.
I was a volunteer primarily, but we were also there as educators. We was there to supply fun. Our roles changed depending on what was required of us.
Yeah, we're never short of support while we're over there. Marcelin prepared us well, having pre-dinner meetings to sort of prepare us mentally for the journey and ask us questions about how we're feeling, what we're worried about, what we're going to expect. And then once we're over there, having people who had worked on the program before to chat to us about what we were going to see, but they didn't want to give too much away at the same time. They still wanted us to have our own experience and almost a little surprise. They were helpful when it came to those stories that you hear, because they've been there for so long. To be able to process all of it in such a short amount of time for us, and so quickly as well, they were a large support for us.
Beck is in charge of the 326 program in South Africa, and she basically organises majority of the things that are going to be going on for the day. So she organised all our events, she organised our transport there for the kids, she helps organise the food, what time the kids are going to be eating, what times they're going to be having activities, what times they're going to be swimming or being on the field.
Well, I definitely think the main support for me was the 2 other boys that I went with, so Will and Dom. Having 2 blokes that, you come from the same place. We came from Marcelin, we travelled there together, we had met before, and we're all going through the same thing for the first time. So having those 2 was, for me, really, really helpful. And I think we bounced off each other a lot, and we spoke about what was working, what wasn't. Through a lot of the challenges we had, it was good to be able to chat about that to like-minded people. So they were probably the biggest support group that I thought I had.
To talk to them after our long day and discuss what we thought, what we felt, what we thought we could improve, how we felt about the kids, how we felt about each other. That was a great support network to have.
The best part about those 2 was that they were experiencing it too. We were experiencing it differently, processing it differently, having our own unique experiences. Around us each day, we had the network of the international volunteers led by the coordinators and all the other volunteers who had come from all parts of the world.
The amount of emotions we went through in 2 weeks, I found that pretty challenging.
I was not expecting to be overfilled with joy. When I got there, I thought it was going to be a bit more harrowing, but it was the most rewarding experience ever, and every day was just filled with so much fun and laughter. I just remember incredible amounts of laughter every single day, just from all the children around me, from all the volunteers as well. It was just incredible amounts of fun to have. Even the times when it was a little bit stressful due to buses and all these other things, I can't describe how much fun we had.
The other guys have spoken about being so joyful with the kids, and that's 100% the biggest and most overwhelming feeling. There was also a stark contrast and opposite to that of almost frustration, I guess. Thinking, how can other people, whether it be people in these kids' lives or even just South Africa in general, what their country's been through, how can one person treat another person in such a horrific way? Whereas we're all there for the complete opposite reason of just going there because we wanted to help. It was hard to understand, and that frustrated me sometimes.
We went from super high highs to really low lows, and coping with that was a little bit tricky. Seeing some stuff that you would, I guess, expect to see but hoped you wouldn't or hoped you didn't have to. It was real when we were over there. We didn't just hear about it. It was stuff that we were actually witnessing.
I thought it was just going to be an experience where I go over there, I do my part, I come home. But I find myself thinking about it quite a lot, and I find myself thinking about the kids quite often.
One of my favourite memories, I guess, and favourite parts of the whole experience was the first few days being with the grade 4 class that I was with. One of the boys was quite angry, I guess, towards other children, and he didn't really listen to me or work with me much in the classroom. And I was slowly sort of chipping away at him, trying to sort of build a little bit of a relationship, ask him a few questions, what he likes to do and things like that. And one day we finally got to have a bit of a chance to read with the kids. And I was giving the books out to the kids and saying, do you want to read this? And he came over, and probably the last kid you'd expect to love reading, and he picked up 2 books, asked me, will you read with me? But then to sit there and see that he could read quite well, but he also struggled a lot as well. So for me to help him and him to want that help from me suddenly just clicked, and we were like laughing at the book and having a great time.
We definitely saw both sides of humanity. So we saw some really great things being done and people going out of their way to help out, and people being there for multiple years unpaid, just trying to help out. But then we saw the other side of humanity as well, where you have the really rich. There's a lot of contrast. You'd be driving down a street and you'd have these ridiculous mansions that are electric fence, and you could turn a right hand and there'll be people living out of shacks. It was a little bit confronting and difficult to process how it can be so different, and the contrast can be so intense, I guess.
It really hit me being part of the Marist community, and the fact that it's so global is when we got there and we were walking around the school, and I think in one of the lower areas where the primary school usually is, in a mosaic are the 5 pillars of Marcelin, and that just seeing them in a different country on a different continent really put in perspective how big this movement is, and that it binds people in a way that's just so beyond what we can actually think. People acting in the name of the same person and doing good things in the name of the same person. It was just really eye-opening and really put in perspective of why Marcelin means so much to so many different people.
Any experience like this is going to impact your faith. When I was over there and since coming back, it's also given me another dimension, or developed my faith even in the side of my personal time, like reflection and things. That's probably been the biggest impact on my faith, whereas I thought it was going to be all about putting that faith into action. It's more had a personal effect on me.
I wouldn't have picked it after just 2 weeks of knowing these kids, but the bonds that we formed were so strong, and some of the relationships we had were pretty profound. So it was a really hard moment to say goodbye to them.
The last day was really hard, to put it bluntly and very short.
Just having to say goodbye after 2 fantastic weeks with these kids that you got to know so well, and you only spent like 4 hours with them a day for 10 days. The relationships you forge is something you can't forget, and you don't want to forget it, and I think that's why it hit us so hard.
One of the little boys who I was really close with, he was a great kid. I was saying goodbye to him, and he said, "Okay, so I'll see you next week." It was pretty rough because, we were getting on a plane to Australia the next day, and I knew that we'd be thinking about the whole experience and the kids back over there a lot.
You can try and explain to people what you did over there, but unless they experience it themselves, they'll never understand it.
And it was so different from anything else I've experienced before, and it's something that I just can't wait to do again.
You've got nothing to lose just by applying. If you apply and you don't get it, that's fine, at least you tried. And if you apply and do get it, you're going to have the greatest experience you probably ever have.
It's a chance for you to give back, not just to your community, but to Marcelin. And, if you've been at this school and they're offering you an opportunity of something like this to experience, Marcelin is not just Marcelin College. Marcelin is Marist, and it's a chance for you to connect with what it means to be a Marist, and it's a very special thing. And you don't have to have gone through a Marist school to be it and to feel it, but having that connection, having gone through now an old boy, it's your chance to continue that and say, I went through Marcelin, I'm a Marist, and I'm ready to go further with this and actually make a difference.